All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Morning, everyone. Wow. And we had a couple of last-minute technical hiccups. Or hookups. We had the hookups, and then we had the hiccups. It was pretty brutal, I'll be honest with you, and we never really got them solved. Except, thank you, Tony, for being here today. Otherwise, we would be in a real mess.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, because I think the reality is a lot of the stuff that I needed to play through my computer, I cannot.
I know.
And,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
And the other
on the
thing
fly, live on the air.
Yeah, but the problem is...
We'll do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
I actually normally annoy Tony right now with the open and the level that I bring the music in on. As you know, Kim.
Kim, how are you?
And so I end up in a kind of back and forth with Tony because I bring the music in too hot, he feels. And I like the music hot. I like, but anyway. So I can't do that today because I'm not playing the music.
Thanks, Tony.
And so, yeah. So go ahead, Tony. It's your game, buddy. You bring
charge.
it as hot as you want to.
We'll see what chat says. Are the
yelling?
levels better today, chat?
Oh, how dare you. How dare you appeal to the audience?
Why are you yelling?
I'm just saying.
Oh, all right. Welcome, everybody. It's a great day. It's a great day in the neighborhood. It's Tuesday, January 17th. Really, really cool show. Except I just, wait a minute. I just, no. This should be 10:35.
What have you done? Oh, we're talking about our big guest, superstar.
Yeah, did we say 11?
Superstar.
This is the problem. 10:35. I'm sorry if I messed that up, Kevin Pollak.
Sometimes you just have to text during the show, and that's the way it is.
Yeah. So Kevin Pollak's joining us, bottom of the hour.
Yeah. He's got some new cool thing happening.
Yeah, he's coming up to San Francisco Sketchfest, which is really great. Okay.
Jennifer says, whoever is hosting this thing has no
idea what they're doing.
Do you know who I am?
I am
Kind of a big deal.
I'm a big deal, and I'm not used to doing all this myself. This is the sad part, but Kevin will appreciate. Anyway, so Kevin joins us bottom of the hour. He's coming up for San Francisco Sketchfest. Thank you. I just wanted to finish that. So he'll be with us bottom of the hour right after Kim's news. At the top of the next hour, it is a little like landing planes at SFO. It is D.Cay Johnston, the Pulitzer Prize winner. Yeah, and the debt limit is a real thing. And many of you have asked. You asked in the chat. You also emailed me questions for D.Cay Johnston about just this: the business of government. What will happen? Of course, the business of government did actually grind to a halt during the Trump administration. Remember the whole thing over the wall money? So it does happen. It can happen, and it's not good. And the U.S., and we have this sort of myth of American exceptionalism, the U.S. can be and has been downgraded as a credit risk, right? And these are the incidents that cause those downgrades. So, but the other thing I'm going to ask David is there anything in this list of gun to the head of Joe Biden and Congress demands that's being really championed by the radical arm of the right? And that's a growing arm, you might say. Is there anything in there that's reasonable? Cutting back on military spending, but the way they want to cut back on military spending, really the devil is in those details. So we're going to talk to D.Cay Johnston about all these things. Okay.
You're talking about very smart things. And what I'm pondering with the news is a story about a penis. And my thinking is to show a picture, to not show a picture.
Wow.
So I'm kind of going back and forth on that as you're tackling the national debt. You see?
Tony, will showing the picture get us demonetized? Just a question. That's the only thing I concern myself with these days, just trying to stay on the air.
I would say if it's an actual, then we probably shouldn't be showing actual.
If it's within a news story, which it would be, if with Kim showing it.
I think I'm going to show a picture of the state in which it's happening instead of, which, one could argue the state does look like a penis as well.
If you describe it sufficiently, there'll be no actual need for showing it, maybe.
Kim, how are you?
Okay,
Agreed.
Okay,
yeah,
so
let's be safe.
But I will tell you, I've got Debt Limit with D.Cay Johnston. I've got Kevin Pollak in Sketchfest, bottom of the hour. I wasn't going to mention this, but Kim has me thinking about this now. There is a major, with her last remark.
Yeah.
Major meeting in Davos, Switzerland. Davos is a beautiful ski community in Switzerland, right? And it's where the global elites, those of you who haven't gotten your global elite cards, probably too late. It's where the global elites meet and they work out, their plan for global domination, suppression of the workers, greenwashing while still taking advantage of various laws to let them plunder the environment. So all of these things are going on. But the other thing that's going on, and this is why Kim's remarks made me think of it, is that prostitutes have gathered in Davos for what will be a big week for them. Yes,
ladies got to follow the money. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Girls got to work. Prostitutes gather in Davos for annual meeting of global elite where demand for sexual services rockets during the economic summit. Prostitutes report a surge in business during the annual gathering of leaders. Escorts are booked into delegates' hotels alongside business executives.
Is that legal there? I just guess it doesn't matter.
I don't
Google it.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Sex workers dress in business attire and rub shoulders with the global elite. And then, of course, deals are made.
Rubbing more than that.
Hey, come on, is what I'm saying. So one sex worker, they say, named Liana, said she dresses in business attire so she doesn't stand out among the executives because she wants to blend in. But in answer to Kim's question, prostitution legal in Switzerland. Yes. Okay. Oh, there you go. Yeah, right. I would love for you to take a look at this Liana. There's actually a picture of her. Tony, is there any way to rally that? It's in the rundown. Do you have the document there if you wanted to? No? Not even if you wanted to?
Give me 1 second.
All right. There you
Thanks, Tony.
Okay. As we look at that, I will tell you that I have other important stuff related to Trump, related to Biden, related to government. I'll share a lot of that with D.Cay Johnston. But last night, we got the answer as to who the Niners are going to be playing on Sunday. And that's right. Legal means it's fine, just a business expense, says huge in Japan. Right. That's so right. I didn't even think of that. You can write it off. Not that these guys need write-offs. I mean, this is it's a pretty rich crowd, Speaking of rich, I have an amazing story, and if I don't do it today, I will get to it tomorrow, about an uber wealthy guy. We've got a really terrific That's Rich segment coming up. As I say, I might not get it today, but I will have it for you tomorrow. Uber, a wealthy guy who is like making bad investment after bad investment, and they're just going, he's getting torched left and right. So I'll have that. Now, here is a prostitute that we mentioned. This is Liana, who is working in the Davos scene, So,
thanks, Tony.
Yeah. I don't
I needed
know.
that picture so much this morning. I really don't know what I would have done if I hadn't seen her boobs on a Tuesday morning.
Well, you know something? I don't approve of it, if I can say I don't.
Good morning, Liana. How are you?
The manager of one escort service, this is in Davos, Switzerland, says some book escorts for themselves and their employees for a party in the hotel suite.
Oh, I have to start traveling with those folks. Look at that.
Yep.
I have never received such perks at the Mark Thompson show.
No, we don't really. Look, we're barely getting the show on the air.
Yeah, we don't do. We don't do hookers.
How do you think
There's
that would?
No hookers and blow here.
That's right. We need some super stickers and super chats so we can afford the hookers.
Oh Lord.
One official driver for the forum said he picked up one sex worker who claimed she'd been forced by her boss to sleep with an older client at a delegate's hotel. I would think there's a lot of that, older men. Well, they're going to be talking about the Ukraine war and global inflation rates and climate change and inequality, supposedly. But apparently, in between all of those conversations, it will be it'll be a sex fest in some quarters. So there's that. Look, we keep you posted on all things here. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Shout out to Steve Moskowitz, who is the official sponsor of this show. You could forward. I did send him the link yesterday, but if you want to send it to him again, maybe that would be good. Thank you for smashing the like button. Jefferson Graham is in the chat, everybody. You know Jefferson Graham. He comes here on Thursdays with tech stuff, and also he has photo walks on YouTube. But do smash that like
with your iron rod.
Smash it like a boss. Give me a thumbs up. It helps in the algorithm. Thank you for all of you who pointed out I said logarithm yesterday. I was doing something else, and I was kind of stalling until I got Courtney in position, so I think I said logarithm instead of algorithm. The thing I was beginning to say was that the Cowboys and Niners are set for a showdown. The Cowboys blew out, essentially, the Buccaneers. The one thing, in addition to it being a blowout in this ball game last night, now, I suppose there are two things. I'll put the Tom Brady thing aside for a minute and just talk about the Cowboys. For the first time in an NFL game, their kicker missed 4 extra points. So after a touchdown, there's an extra point. It's usually like a chip shot. Once in a while, it's missed. It's not extraordinary. To miss 2 in one game, that's pretty extraordinary. To miss 3 is way off the charts. And to miss 4 is absolutely unheard of.
It's a bad night.
So you talk about it. Yeah. Whether he'll be making the trip to San Francisco, I don't know. But they did win in convincing fashion, 31-14. Before his meltdown, no kicker had ever missed 3 PATs in a postseason game.
Hey, Mark, did you see the fake Jerry Jones account on Twitter with what it tweeted, and everyone kind of like just caught on here? I'll find it real fast. It was
where he takes it where the helmet's off and it's Jerry Jones.
No. I'll show you faster. Give me a second.
So the other question after that game was, what's going to happen to Tom Brady? If you can kick and are currently in the stadium right now.
I mean, obviously it's fake, but
yeah, this is from the Jerry Jones fake account. If you can kick and are currently in the stadium right now, come on down to the field. We got a jersey for you.
That was really good.
I love that. That is funny. Thank you. That's really funny. What will happen with Tom Brady? He's 45 years old, Kim. He's still cute as a button. I think he's a hunky guy.
Brady gets to check out when Tom Brady wants to check out.
Yeah, he is.
I mean,
go ahead.
You could say 45 and getting up there, right? But look at the success he had even last year. I mean, I don't think you can say, oh, he's old, he's washed up, he's done. He's still amazing. Whether you like him or not, and deflate.
He sure is amazing. Yeah,
he is amazing.
Girl, you just woo.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
You know you can still throw the ball, girl.
Mateo, so
Yeah, that's right. I was on a thread early this morning in which people were saying sort of what you're hearing now, which is, Tom Brady's washed up. Actually, they were reposting something from a blog, and they say, where does he go from here? He looked awful, feeble. Even it was a sad sight for the most accomplished quarterback in the NFL history. There's been chatter that Brady could land somewhere else in free agency next year, a 46-year-old no less. Maybe the Fox booth is next. the reality is he didn't look feeble. That's the worst take I've heard. He hit Evans at the end of the game on a 63-yard pass. It might have been 6 inches off of it, and it hit him right at the end of his fingers. And he made other long passes. He still has the arm. He's still quite impressive, to be honest. He doesn't have the mobility. And I think there's a certain fragility that comes with being 46 years old.
Yeah.
I'm not a Tom Brady fan particularly, but he didn't look feeble. That's ridiculous. Now, he doesn't have an offense around him. They know, that he has no mobility, so they can really tee off. But look, I thought the Bucs had other issues besides just Tom Brady. But I'm with Kim. He can do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah,
What's
the
that,
whole
Tony?
team looked off yesterday. I thought all of the Bucs, like the running, the blocking, just everything was like.
Exactly.
They looked like they were going to lose from the beginning. I mean, not to be mean, but just compared to how the Cowboys were just.
Well, neither. I mean, early on, neither team looked particularly dominant. Yeah, and the Bucs have a good defense, so there was that. Anyway, Bucs are done. Cowboys coming to San Francisco, and they'll play at Levi. The other thing I wanted to mention to you about Tom Brady, who is so hunky. I mean, the guy is a hunk.
Girl, you just woo.
Yeah, I'm telling you, girl.
Tom Brady or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Different look, right?
Yeah.
They're both pinning the meter of hunkiness.
Yeah, they are.
Tom Brady, as you know, broke up with the Brazilian model Gisele, right? 13 years of togetherness. It's been 2 months since the rumors about their personal lives emerged. There's a rumor about Gisele. She's seeing her jiu-jitsu instructor, Joaquim Valente. Tom Brady, though, he's pretty busy with Veronica Rajek, who is a model. And if you want to check Veronica Rajek, you can.
Google it.
I didn't put it in the show with a picture because I don't want to seem like I'm a sexist, lurid guy leering on Tom Brady's.
I'll put it in the show. Hold on.
Yeah. This is her in
this?
a modest.
Oh.
That's a modest picture of her with Brady's number 12 on her jersey. There are less modest pictures of her.
That's awfully soon
And
for some girl to be wearing your jersey number. I'm just
Veronica Rajek. It's never too soon once the marriage is over, Kim.
Is that so?
Get out there. You got to get it out.
Kim, how are you?
You got to get out there.
Oh, here's a picture of her in her
Yeah. All right, we'll show it to you. This
little bra and
is
panties.
Yeah. And she is she's an attractive lady, if I can say that.
Whatever.
And they're
How
also
do you follow Giselle? I mean, you don't.
Well, I'll tell you, you follow with Veronica Rajek.
I guess so.
I think he is very effectively moved on.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm not saying that they're, going to a lot of indie film festivals together. I don't know what they talk about, but I'm saying that
I don't
they
think
are.
they're talking.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that on the Tom Brady scandal.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I wanted to tell you that in the city, and I saw this actually, it was front page of the LA Times. They're talking about the realities concerning flood risks from sea level rise and groundwater rising. I thought I mentioned the LA Times thing because I always feel when things are happening in the Bay Area and they're making the front page of the Southern California paper as well. And LA Times does, I think, some good reporting, even though obviously they've been gutted in this new media environment. But they released this report. Apparently, this is a pretty substantial report that lays bare this hidden aspect of sea level rise that has been making flooding in the Bay Area all the worse. They talk about flooding from groundwater that's just a few feet underground or even a few inches underground. So all of these storms tip that groundwater into really dangerous places that affect life in the Bay Area. It gets pushed upward, this groundwater, they say, as denser water from the ocean moves inland from rising tide. On its way up, even before the water breaks the surface, it can seep into the cracks of basements, infiltrate plumbing, or even more insidiously is a ding word, remobilize toxic chemicals that are buried underground. So these are all dangers from this rising groundwater. This is all in this new report. It just came out today. Communities that consider themselves safe from sea level rise may need to think otherwise. The lead author of the report, Chris May, founder of Pathways Climate Institute, a research-based consulting firm in San Francisco that helps cities adapt to climate change, says, I started working on sea level rise, then I went to an extreme precipitation, then groundwater, but it's all connected. She's saying that hotspots where the soil is already saturated with rising groundwater were some of the first to flood in this most recent series of storms. But these huge storms really highlight the magnitude of the risk. So I will post this new report. It's available online to the public. And they look at Alameda, Marin, San Francisco, and San Mateo counties, all the areas around the Bay Area that have to redefine how they look at these stormwaters and also rising ocean waters. This is all part of the changing climate and the environment in which we find ourselves.
It's not something I would have thought about, the releasing of toxins in soil.
Exactly.
It's just this whole nother issue that, you can't see it. It's there. I just hadn't thought of it.
We really need to focus on where contaminants may be mobilized by rising groundwater. This is a quote. Because they could have an immediate impact on a 6-year-old or a pregnant woman or someone who has extra vulnerability in their immune system. This is from a UC Berkeley researcher who's been particularly concerned about these underserved communities like Marin City, for example, or East Oakland. So this is the point, what Kim underscored, that these aren't pure aquifers that have groundwater in them. They have commingled in that water chemicals.
I'm thinking about these. There's at least 3 of them, vacant and pretty prime lots in the town where I live in Petaluma, and they're called brownfields. There was an old gas station on one. There was railroad train chemical stuff going on another, I think. Anyway, they're penned off and they're just sitting there for a certain number of years until the ground becomes healthier again, right? The chemicals have to wear off or whatever they do. And so I'm thinking about all the storms and all the chemicals in those brownfields leaching into the groundwater. Even if your town isn't flooding, your town could be in danger.
So true. And it's remarkable how we bury things literally and then out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
Look how they dumped all that DDT off the coast of Southern California, so much of it, that they literally can't quantify how much is there. Football fields full of it. I mean, football fields and football fields. They went down there with a sub. LA Times actually did a great expose on this. I think they might have won a Pulitzer for it recently in the last year or so. And you see how we treat the ocean as an open sewer. And because it's down there, we don't pay attention to it. Similarly, with these areas that you're talking about, Kim, we don't pay enough attention to it, and we don't know what the half-life is on some of these chemicals. So as these groundwaters rise and as the ocean rises and meets them, and as we get more rain, it all comes together. So that's the very latest. I'll post this, but literally this report and map just was released today, and I wanted you to know about it. All right, Mark Thompson.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Let me talk to him right now. Steve Moskowitz, everybody. Come on, Steve. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, and still another ERC story to tell you.
Oh, great. Tell us.
I can see why it's totally wrong, and it hurts clients, but I see why people are doing it. I've talked so much about the alternative method with ERC and all the work it is. The other day, I had an ERC, which was the gross revenue test. It was so easy. It's like, I ask you a few questions, but you qualify. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have to go through a diatribe and ask all these questions. It was so easy and quick. Boom, you qualify. That was it. And then I said, this is one of the reasons why the other firms are just looking at the other method. It's so quick and easy. It was just a few minutes. It was just so quick and easy. But if you only look at that one test, you're really harming people, because there's so many people that qualify for ERC, up to $26,000 per employee that qualify, that don't have the drop in gross revenue, but do qualify under the alternative test. And I was thinking about it because it was just so easy, Mark. It was so quick. I almost said, that's it, I'm done. I have nothing more to talk about. It was so easy. And I say, that's why those other companies are doing it. But it's a real disservice to the clients, because there's another way. It's just a lot more work.
That's such a great take. And it's so funny to hear you say it, that it is so easy that, of course, that's why most CPAs and most accounting people, they just go to that because that's the easy one. But the real heavy lifting is where there can also be a tremendous amount of money. And that's what you always look at. You always talk about the fact that, in fact, you usually say, of course, we check the easy boxes, but then we go to the more detailed boxes.
That's right. And just before I called you, I was talking with another client. His CPA turned him away because his gross revenue didn't go down. And I had to go through all these different things, but the guy qualified, and he's going to get about $500,000. So it makes, and again, he was turned away from his CPA. So obviously you only want to do what's right. And you don't want to go to some fly-by-night firm that says everybody qualifies, because not everybody qualifies. You have to qualify. Your name's on there. It has to be like any tax return. It has to be right, or there's consequences. But you don't just look at the easy way, and you have to look at both ways. It's so important.
Well, this is sort of good news, bad news. Walnut Creek Adult Softball says to Steve Moskowitz, Steve, thank you. I pushed our board to push our CPA, and we qualified. We're a teeny tiny nonprofit, and it's like winning the lottery. Thank you. Got the idea from you, Steve Moskowitz. The bad news is you should have had Steve Moskowitz do it.
That's what I was thinking.
Reach Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL, but glad Steve could shed some light on your situation.
I'm happy to help the guy.
Yeah. Steve is really the coolest, and talk to his people. You can approach them about anything, and you can approach them simply. You know what I mean? They won't just steamroll you with a lot of verbiage. They are really easy to talk to. 888-TAX-DEAL.
Before I was a tax attorney and before that CPA, I was just a New York City taxi cab driver. I'm really a simple guy. I just went to school for quite a while.
Yeah. And so if you need a ride to the airport, Steve might be able to help you as well. All right. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. Also online, MoskowitzLLP.com. Steve, love you. Talk to you next hour.
Love you too.
All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
All right. What's the problem, Tony? You look like you're not happy about something. What is it?
No, fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay. So we try to read his face. I know what's making you angry.
Well, Tony, what angered you?
All right.
That
Kevin
question,
Pollak.
everything.
I've got Kevin Pollak coming up. He's a big star. I don't want to leave him waiting. So I've got him slated for a few minutes from now. But we should have time for Kim's News and then Pollak. And then in the next hour, as I mentioned to you, the Pulitzer Prize winner, best-selling author D.Cay Johnston on the national debt. We'll also get to Biden and Trump and documents if there's time. So there's much to do. Smash that like button like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Do it with your iron rod, damn it. Let's get it on. All right, Mark Thompson Show.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Use Mark Thompson.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report Sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Let's get right to the pictures. This horrible situation in Berkeley going on. Some residents of Berkeley, of course, out of their now red tagged homes after mudslides in the hills happened on Monday morning. Oh, that's the wrong picture. Look at that. That's not what you want to see on your house. This is in the area of Middlefield Road, Wildcat Canyon Road, and the Spiral. 7 homes evacuated because of mudslides in the Berkeley Hills. This one going on right now. See if I can share the screen with you. This is a scary situation going on with an ACE train in the Altamont Pass area. Live pictures now from NBC Bay Area. Tony, I'm not sure if you can help me share that or not. I have to get the picture off of it. Yeah, sorry, operator error, you guys.
So where is that train? Where?
This is an ACE train, and it is stalled because of a landslide. This is in the East Bay. It is a westbound Altamont Corridor Express, or ACE train. It didn't derail, but it is stalled out southeast of Oakland. Well, it's along Niles Canyon. It is stuck on the tracks there because of landslides up above, so they're not moving. Alameda County Fire Department and an ACE spokesman say the train is operational. It will move out once the landslide is cleared from the tracks. 220 passengers aboard. They had to be taken off and boarded another train heading back toward Pleasanton. So one could say, yeah, big delays on the Altamont Commuter Express trains this morning here in the Bay Area. Thanks for showing that. Live pictures from NBC Bay Area. So our gratitude to them. There is a new effort underway. Congressional Republicans launching an investigation into the origins of COVID-19. Experts say there needs to be a deep dive like we did after 9/11. Professor Gerald Parker at Texas A&M says there are flaws in the theory that COVID came from a wet market in Wuhan, China. So again, this debate still raging. The scandal around New York Congressman George Santos getting bigger now. Democratic Representative Richie Torres joining calls for the Federal Election Commission to investigate Santos's campaign finances, claiming he likely broke campaign finance law. Torres wants the FEC to investigate the relationship between Santos's campaign and Redstone Strategies, which is an unregistered fundraising group. Torres joined by the new nonpartisan group Concerned Citizens of New York, which is questioning the $700,000 Santos lent his campaign, despite only earning $55,000 a year. Where'd you get that money? What's
Doesn't seem like
you?
him, but all right.
Yeah. No, I don't know. This is a really horrible story. This is 6 people murdered in what police in Central California call a cartel-style execution. The Tulare County Sheriff's Office says gunmen opened fire at a house yesterday in Goshen, southeast of Fresno. Investigators say that family, including an infant and a young mother, died in the targeted attack there. This woman's still missing. This is the search for a Massachusetts woman now in its 3rd week. Her name is Anna Walsh, 39-year-old mother of 3 young boys. She's been missing since New Year's Day, and her husband, Brian Walsh, is being held now on a $500,000 bail as he's charged with misleading police investigating his wife's disappearance.
Yeah, if you want to hear more about that, we featured it yesterday, as you know, in Mark's Murder Mystery Monday. So that's
absolutely.
He left it seems like a lot of evidence, but they cannot find a body. Anyway, go ahead.
Crazy. The HBO series adaptation of the hit video game The Last of Us, securing the network's 2nd biggest debut in the last 13 years. The show premiered Sunday, hit a mark of 4.7 million viewers for the first episode. New episodes set to debut Sundays on HBO and HBO Max through March 12th. Okay, so here was the debate. Do I show the penis, or do I just show the state? Well, let's compromise there. How about that? A little each. The First Amendment rights activist wants to build a penis statue in South Florida. His name is Chaz Stevens of Boca Raton. He wants to put a 300-pound statue of a 6-foot-high pink penis on display at a public park.
Wow.
Stephen
Well,
says
that's a-
the phallic symbol wouldn't be obscene, no, because it's covered by an 8-foot tall fence and out of plain sight. He says it's a religious display, no different from a Christmas tree or a menorah, Church of the
Yeah.
Penis. Stevens
Right.
has asked Fort Lauderdale and 8 other cities for permission so far. I didn't write it this way, but I'm going to say it this way. He's only gotten a hard no from the city of Deerfield Beach.
What?
Oh. All right.
Yeah, I mean, who
All
doesn't want a penis statue in town? This report
Wow.
sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. Here's another picture of Florida for you.
Oh my.
Seriously, what the
Okay. All
For
right.
more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, call Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DALE or MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, how about it for Kevin Pollak, actor, comedian, amazing moderator this
look at
weekend at
him.
Look at that! He's got
Yeah.
the Mark merch! Come on! Kevin Pollak with the Mark merch. I love that. That
Nice.
is our the Mark Thompson Show hydration system, which has arrived safely to you. I'm glad about that. Yeah, look at those Niners, kid. It's going to be the Cowboys this weekend, Kevin.
It certainly is, and I couldn't be happier. We already embarrassed Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, so it's time to embarrass the horrible Cowboys.
Yeah, I think the Bucs made them look a lot better than they are. I really
Yes,
believe,
which is great if you're a betting man, because it drove down the money line, which I couldn't be more thrilled about.
And that's the other thing about Kevin. He's just got one toe in the degenerate world of sports gaming, which is which is, by the way, going to be legal in more and more states. So the whole world is going to have one toe in it, it seems. Kevin is coming to San Francisco for now. I should just remind everybody, although I think everyone's aware of this, born in the city, raised in San Jose, right? And South Bay, and exploded in San Francisco with the comedy career, the stand-up career, and went to Hollywood, and obviously has made it with everything from A Few Good Men to Usual Suspects to Maisel to there. Oh, there he is in A Few Good Men. There he is in Usual Suspects.
Oh, look at that.
Hey, Kevin, in Usual Suspects, weren't you put the picture back up there, will you, Tony?
The littlest suspect? Yes.
You were each one of them had like an expertise or something, right? Weren't you like the munitions guy, or as I recall?
Explosives, technically, but you're in the wheelhouse.
Okay. It was, I felt like A Few Good Men was like the launch, and then you had a relaunch even with Usual Suspects. Is that a fair characterization?
Well, the launch of 30 years ago, A Few Good Men, by the way. Yeah, that changed everything. I went from auditioning to getting offers, and that's every actor's goal line, getting back to the Niners, which we must. And yeah, it became crazy in the 90s after A Few Good Men. I only know this because of the internet, 40 films in the 90s, 6 of them damn good. But a couple of years after A Few Good Men was not only The Usual Suspects, but Casino in the same calendar year.
Yes.
And that 1-2 punch was enough to solidify me as a dramatic actor, which was hilarious.
Look, that's a nice self-deprecating thing, but I really feel as though you did hit the ball as a dramatic actor, and I don't think that's easy.
Well, it's not easy. Unless you're just comfortable in front of the camera, which is all I can lay claim to. On Few Good Men, J.T. Walsh, the great character actor, a lot of Mammoth plays and movies and he plays Markinson in A Few Good Men. He taught me. I was concerned. This is the movie I'm going to get found out on. Everybody's famous in this movie. Everyone's going to discover I don't know what I'm doing. He said, you're already doing a form of acting that people train their whole lives for, which is called less is more. I've been watching you. And by the way, I was doing this so-called less is more because I didn't want to get caught acting.
Right.
I had no formal training, not proud of it, just a fact. I sort of learned to audition. And I just was throwing it away. I was less is more. And he said, the second half of that is nothing is best. Less is more, nothing is best. If you can actually do nothing in a scene and steal focus, you win. So then I prided myself on doing nothing, spent my whole career doing nothing. And then the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel comes along 5 years ago, and I play a very loud, obnoxious Jew and get more accolades and awards than anything I've ever done. So 30 years wasted, Mark.
So you had to get into the club of really good actors by doing nothing.
Yes.
And then once in, as you say, then the explosion by coming over the top.
Yeah.
It is funny, though. I mean, I have to say, there are maybe 3 people who just like knee-jerk make me laugh, and Kevin is one of those people. He might have been the first one. And when I see him in Maisel, there's just something. It's just like a knockout punch with you just hit so hard. It's really, really funny. And I congratulate you on the success of that. So is this the last season of Maisel now? What's the story on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
5th and final season coming out in the spring is all I'm legally allowed to tell you. But in the meantime, I return to my hometown, the place of my birth, Children's Hospital, San Francisco, for the Sketchfest proceedings that are starting this coming weekend.
Yeah, so tell us about Sketchfest. Remind us what it is, and then how you're going to be, figured into it.
Celebrating the 20th anniversary, there's a photo of one of the groups from the movie A Mighty Wind.
Right.
I'm going to be moderating a reunion panel with Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy and oh my goodness, everyone, Jane Lynch, Catherine O'Hara. So many people will be there. Just go to sfsketchfest.com for the scheduling. All sorts of improv shows, stand-up shows, sketch shows. My own better half, Jamie Foxx, is part of a sketch company.
It's an annual event.
Yeah, it's an annual event. So Back Alley Racket Club's the name of her sketch team. They'll have a couple of shows this weekend too. It's an annual event, 20th anniversary. And next week, the following weekend of the 28th, I'll be part of the roast of Bruce Campbell, for example. So there's all these high-profile shows and big reunions of famous movies and TV series, along with sketch shows, improv, and comedy. And it's a phenomenal celebration in the city. People come out in droves. Get your tickets. A lot of shows already sold out. Very, very exciting. The Mighty Wind thing will be at the Castro Theater. Let's see, that'll be, I believe, a week. This coming. Go to sfsketchfest.com. I should have the exact dates, but of course I don't, because that's what I do.
Thank you. I mean, you fit right in with a lot of the things that we do. So with moves like that. But sfsketchfest.com. Maybe you can put that together as a banner, Tony. Well, I'll remind people as well. sfsketchfest.com. The world of sketch, just to talk about it for a second, because you did mention your other half, and she's really good at it, and she's good at writing sketch. That is a completely, it seems, different discipline than that of stand-up, which is the way you came up.
Wildly different. You're writing little playettes in her case, and you have these great performers that do characters and impressions, but it's all written and rehearsed, much like your Saturday Night Live. And it's a great tradition that's been around forever, and probably predates plays, because there's small little playettes, as I said. In this case, hysterical settings. One of Jamie's last sketches she wrote, Killed Me, which was a game show called On Target, where the host explains to the 3 contestants, to win $250,000, all you have to do is go into Target and only buy the 3 items you set out to get.
I love that.
Which shockingly, all three contestants fail at miserably. But how they fail is particularly funny. But so, you get a great high concept idea like that, like Jamie did, and then you get these great actors to bring a sense of realism to the sketch, and it's a great tradition and a great comedy festival in San Francisco.
There it is. SF Sketchfest returns January 20th through February 5th, 2023.
Yeah,
and you can get more information at sfsketchfest.com.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about is that there are so many high-profile people. You mentioned a handful of them in The Mighty Wind. Jane Lynch. I think Jane Lynch. I used to do voiceover with Jane Lynch. I'd see her all the time, virtually every day.
Yeah,
and it was just so exciting to see somebody who is so talented. She was always funny, and she was always working. Okay, but she came from that voiceover world, and then just to see her career explode. And honestly, I sort of had the same experience with you many, many, many years ago, where I'd see you all the time in the clubs. And I mean, I would, you were a pal, and I would, I'd break my ass to try to get to shows of yours. There it is, the Mark Thompson. Yes, with every sip, a round of applause. What I was going to say is about the general work that's done in a lot of these sketch groups. They're populated with other people like that, the Kevin Pollaks, the Jane Lynches of the world, and you may actually see them in sort of the nascent stages of their career before they explode.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Yeah, it is great to keep track of these people as they're rising up through the sketch scene and the improv scene. And yeah, I stole 5 of them from the West Side Comedy Theater in Los Angeles to put together this all improvised comedy podcast called Alchemy This, and we did 3 years of that, and super fun to watch these improvisers who also do sketch sort of come into their own. And I did come up as a purist sort of in the stand-up scene, although doing impersonations, one could argue that I was a novelty act in my own right, as opposed to the straight monologists who I admired so much. But eventually you do have to find your own voice. And I find that true for the sketch actors as well. They, our friend Dana Carvey, for example, took the sketch world by storm in Saturday Night Live, even though he came from pure stand-up and had to learn how to do sketch once he got hired to Saturday Night Live. And then, of course, sort of reinvented a lot of what it means to do sketch and become famous from it.
You just reminded me, in your case, of how you had to be careful. You didn't say this, but I would just imagine, I'm kind of checking to see if this is true, but I think it is, that you didn't get limited to just an impressionist, because I think that was, it was your magic trick, but you didn't want it to be your only trick.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was a great way in. It was a great way to get a voice and a great way to get an audience and a following. But then I definitely wanted, and also realized I needed, to have my own voice on stage. Not necessarily that I felt I had so much to say and the world needed to know it. And my act has always been, even to this day, more entertaining than insights. But I still had a point of view of certain things, and certainly wanted to share that, whether it was little pieces from the news or my family. I remember just stumbling across a story, and we hear about these every now and then, where an 18-wheeler overturned releasing 80 million bees. This was in a small town in Florida. And 80 million bees. That's the number of bees that could have formed themselves into a hand to upright the truck, right? I mean, 80 million bees. Picturing the animated version of the bees. Yeah.
Right.
But 80 million bees, first of all, who counted the bees? And so whether it was just taking observations from the news and things like that, or doing impersonations, I still had what developed into a sort of sarcastic sense of humor and point of view on most topics. And then once you find your voice, you can talk about anything, as it turns out. And then I over the years became more quizzical about life as opposed to pointed opinion. For example, do you think serial killers have also moved on to almond milk? Do they worry about gluten-free, whether or not they...
You think they're less sensitive to issues like that?
I like to think that they're also consumed by these thoughts.
Kevin Pollak, love you in Usual Suspects.
Yep.
The best character, great guy flick. Also love you in Mom. Kevin, you were in Mom?
I was. First 2 seasons, the long lost baby mama to Anna Faris's character.
And what did they do to you in Mom, Kevin?
Well, in great sitcom tradition, they decided to kill my character. Spoiler alert.
That
Rude.
is really...
What?
Yeah, well, it happens. Yeah.
Kevin Pollak has a distinction in my life. He is the only celebrity, to have signed a T-shirt that I have.
Wow. That is very cool.
Well, I'm honored, but I also feel bad for you.
Like, there's no Tom Cruise T-shirt. No. There's no Tom Hanks T-shirt. No. There's a Kevin Pollak T-shirt at my house. That's what I got.
Well, I'm honored, but I just feel bad for you that's the one you're stuck with.
That's what I got. I am very happy with it. No, I saw you at a comedy show in San Francisco. You had come to KGO to do some publicity for the show.
Sure.
And said, yeah, come on down. So and this is a big thing for me because usually once I leave the station and travel an hour home, I don't turn around and travel an hour back to the city. But I did, took my husband to see the show, and you had t-shirts, some type of t-shirt sale. You said, hey, if you buy a t-shirt, I'll sign it. And I said, all right. And so I did. And there you go.
Always working the angles. Huh?
Yeah,
That's
nice
right.
to be really hustling the merch. Who knew? Yeah. Wow. Personal appearance.
Well, it's funny. I did stand up. I've been doing it my whole life, but also playing poker my whole life, as Mark knows. And I remember there was a great music manager at the game. And one night at the game, he said, do you sell merch after your shows? And I said, no. And I'd been doing stand up for 25 years at that point. And he said, my band's, most of the money is made by selling merch. And so, I decided, I guess it's time to make up some damn t-shirts. And then,
there you go.
Of course, if you wait for folks after the show and tell them you'll sign them, that merch just flies off the shelf, Mark.
Yeah. We're working on it, Kevin. We're working on it. Kevin's one of the great character actors in show business, says Karen D. He makes the main character, in quotes, look good. Primary actors are usually fashion models. The character actors are the real actors. Kevin, comment?
Well, I've always loved character actors myself. I belong to a little group called the Character Actors Dining Society, where we get together once a month and have a meal. You may have seen on social media. But also
some of those people have really exploded. Like, you could argue that Kevin Pollak's really exploded, but alongside, I saw Bryan Cranston in a recent picture with you guys. So
that was the thing. Sometimes character actors get to be movie stars. When I did the Grumpy Old Men movies, I got to study at the feet of greatness in Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. But those are two classic character actors. But I would also argue, as of late, Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio are both doing exceptional character actor work. Brad Pitt, it seems to transform himself into someone completely different every time. And Leonardo seems to absolutely love doing that, especially in the Quentin Tarantino movies. He's almost unrecognizable in most of those roles. So a character actor is not necessarily an actor who does small parts, but unusual from one to the next and different always.
It's such a cool distinction. Really, such a cool distinction. Kevin on stage is best dressed, says Maud. Oh, really? I know. Do you pay a lot of attention to what how well you're dressed on stage,
yourself
Kevin?
Up?
Gosh, I hope not. I hope I'm not spending too much time thinking about it.
I never associated you with that. Yeah.
I always thought once a comedian starts to become concerned about what he looks like, he's lost his comedic edge, or if they become more interesting at the exterior. Although, again, mentioning my better half, Jamie, I was well on my way to John Lovett's Tommy Bahamaville when I met her. And she said, if you wear clothes that fit you, everyone will think you lost weight. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And there's a photo of the Cads.
Yeah, somebody asked, Julie did, who's in that character actors club? And so there it is.
Well, there's Fred Molina, Lawrence Fishburne, or Fish Boogie. Noah Wiley, Spencer Garrett, one of the founding members, LeVar Burton, Jason Alexander, Richard Kind, Michael McKeon. Yeah, there's some, and there's
quite
more.
the crew.
Titus Williver's in the group, and
wow,
yeah, Eric
pretty
McCormick.
cool.
Yeah,
what a cool life and show business you've had, Kevin Pollak, and it ain't over. In fact, it's really cranking with Maisel. I mean, you really, there's got to be a moment to go, wow, this is just.
There's many moments. There's a sense of gratitude, and as you get older, you certainly appreciate these things more and more. But all throughout the 6 years working on Mrs. Maisel, there was a sense of gratitude. There's some very exciting projects I can't yet discuss, but I will come back and spend some time with you both, Mark and Kim, if you'll have me to talk about those when the time is right.
We look forward to it.
Yeah, in the
But
spring,
for now,
in
go
the
ahead.
5th and final season of Maisel, well, maybe we'll come back.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Well, look, anytime. You know that. We love you here. SF Sketchfest returning again 20th through the 5th, January 20th through February 5th. sfsketchfest.com is how you can get tickets. And I'm told that, and look at Kevin drinking from, the Mark Thompson Show hydration system.
You play your cards right, you could get some Kevin Pollak merch as well. So,
Yeah. And then the SF Sketchface Roast of Bruce Campbell. That's going to be great. And I'll bet there's still tickets to that left, but you got to check sfsketchfest.com. And Kevin is doing that as well. And, of course, Jamie's
sketch team, Back Alley Racket Club.
Back Alley Racket Club. Check
doing
that out
some
as
shows
well.
This weekend,
Really, really cool. Kevin, you're the best.
You
I
are.
adore you, and I look forward to the next time. Thank you.
Be well, everybody. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bye.
Kevin Pollak, everybody. Come on. Love it, love it, love it.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How great is he? Just awesome.
He's super great.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I think he's probably the most accessible big star. I consider him to be a big star. Maybe just because I have a T-shirt.
Oh, he is.
Don't know.
I think he is a big star. Yeah,
but I think
agree
he's
with
a
that.
big star, and he's so just down to earth and accessible. And if you see him at a comedy show, you could chat with him like like he's everybody, and he's not everybody. So he's cool. He's a cool guy.
Well, I think he's aware of where he from where he came, and I think he is grateful on some level. Murphy says Kevin brought the family relationship to Grumpy Old Men, brought the backstory and heart so that Walter and Jack could amp up the hijinks. That's such a great point. You need that. That was in Grumpy Old Men, there was a family dynamic that was brought in by Pollak. And who was it? Daryl Hannah was in that movie? Isn't that right?
I don't know.
I think that I want to say
Google it.
Okay. Kim's News and David K. Johnston. We'll talk about the U.S. defaulting on its debt. Also, this document thing. I guess, everybody's got classified documents. Biden's got them. Trump's got them. There's a difference, of course. We discussed it before, but still ain't a good look for Broadway Joe, let's just say. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Do it with your iron rod. Give me a thumbs up if you're watching in replay. That's always a fun way to watch. And if you want to leave us a super sticker or super chat, you can do that as well as we're live. Otherwise, there is a heart with a $sign. You can click on that and you can leave us some support that way. We're crowdfunded. So without your support, we go away, to be perfectly honest. So that's why I occasionally will pitch for that. But much to do in hour 2. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. President Biden apparently not thrilled with the White House messaging about the classified documents that were recently found at his home in a prior office. NBC News reporting Biden is upset with all the backlash over the discovery as well. The president is currently facing a special counsel investigation into his handling of the documents there. And I must admit to you, I was fangirling so hard over Kevin Pollak that I didn't have time to put all the pictures in. So that's just the way it is. In a move that seemed unlikely just a month ago, the Army Corps of Engineers has released water from Lake Mendocino Reservoir. Officials say they released the water because there was too much of it. They wanted enough space to keep the flood pool from overflowing. A lot of water has been getting into reservoirs and underground aquifers across the state because of at least 9 so-called atmospheric rivers over the last 3 weeks. 2 proposed California bills would ban state employees from installing TikTok, social and other social media apps on their state-issued smartphones. Senator Bill Dodd introducing the measure, citing a recent warning from the FBI about TikTok. Another bill introduced by Assemblywoman Kate Sanchez, it would apply to social media apps owned by companies that are headquartered in or otherwise based out of a country of concern. The bill specifies those countries of concern would be Venezuela, Iran, North Korea, China, Cuba, and Russia. The head of one of the world's largest consumer goods companies predicts prices will keep on rising. Unilever CEO Alan Jope said the market might be at peak inflation, but probably not peak prices. Jope making the comment during an interview with CNBC at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. A New Mexico official says she is grateful a former GOP candidate for the state legislature is in custody after someone shot at her home. Solomon Pena allegedly paid a group of men to shoot at the homes of Democratic elected officials, including County Commissioner Adrian Barboa. She told CNN she's thankful that he no longer is able to target anyone else.
Yeah,
LeBron,
that was a story that we talked about here. You'll recall I grouped it together with a bunch of other stories about guns and gunplay, and I mentioned the 6-year-old kid who shot the teacher. But that was the story that we buttoned it out with, and we mentioned it at the time that it was clearly politically motivated. In this case, the guy who had done it, perpetrated it, and also contracted with others to do it, he had lost that election by a landslide, and he still was contesting it sort of Trump style, and he took it to court, and he was really laughed out of court. And so now it's about intimidation. But I think it brings out, again, just something that we've spoken of before, and that's this increasing use of intimidation tactics to win political arguments. And it's a very scary place for democracy when you have everyone from poll workers to Democratic officials, political officials of any kind, being intimidated and actually being shot at. So
do what we want or we'll hurt you and or your family, right?
Right. Big story, I think, yeah.
So LeBron James closing in on the NBA's all-time scoring record. He now trails Los Angeles Lakers legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar by just 316 career points.
And he put 48 points up the other night?
He did. He had 48 points in last night's 140-132 Lakers win over the Houston Rockets. So we'll see if he can pull it out. I'm sure LeBron James has got 316 more points in him. The discovery of a Swedish anti-tank weapon at the San Antonio International Airport, ranking among the more unusual finds by screeners. TSA officers found what appears to be an 84 millimeter Carl Gustav M4 anti-tank recoilless rifle in somebody's checked luggage on Monday. Oh, I forgot it was in there.
Yeah, it's tough to carry that on. And so I'm not surprised that it's in the
along
checked
with
luggage.
identifying the owner, police are looking at possible charges in that case, you think? How do you think that you're going to get an anti-tank weapon past TSA? I mean, I guess stranger things have happened.
Well, wait a minute, but 84 millimeters? Is that what it was? That's like 3 inches.
84 millimeter Carl
Am I wrong?
Gustav
Maybe I'm wrong about that.
M4 anti-tank recoilless rifle.
1 inch is 25 millimeters. So 84 millimeters would be just over 3 inches. But is that a picture of it?
I don't know.
Supposedly, yes.
Oh, no, Tony put it up there. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Well, that's not enormous, but it's certainly checkable. Yeah, you wouldn't want it to. Anyway, that person definitely, I think, has some explaining to do. Yeah.
He brought the wrong carry-on that day.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's right. I grabbed the wrong bag. Right.
Oh, this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, it's all about Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-STEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you, everybody. Oh, yes. I've been looking forward to talking to this guy for the entire first hour. We talked about the fact that we're going to speak about debt. We talked about the fact we're going to speak about documents, the Biden classified documents, the Trump classified documents, and maybe, if there's a minute, we'll even get to Davos, where the world's economic elite meet. He's David K. Johnston, the Pulitzer Prize winner and co-founder of DCReport.org. He is now, as you know, he announced that he's stepping back from DC Report from an active daily role, but he's still very much involved. Hey, David. Happy New Year and all that stuff.
Hello, Mark.
We're excited that you're here, and boy, you couldn't be here on a more important week as the rhetoric around defaulting on the U.S. debt and not raising the debt limit has reached a fever pitch. Can you explain to us, please, how this works, how this debt limit thing works, why this is important, and from there we'll talk about what might likely happen.
Well, the only reason we have a debt limit is because of a statute that Congress passed. It's not required in the Constitution, and indeed, 14th Amendment says that the debts of the United States shall not be questioned. Unfortunately, that's never been tested in the courts, but I think the language is quite clear. Shall is mandatory language. What's happened is that the Republicans, who have been utterly unsuccessful in trying to reduce spending, in part because they have been enormously big spenders under Ronald Reagan, both Bushes, and Donald Trump, want to use reaching this artificial limit on the government's borrowing as a way to build support. And it's exposing a fundamental tension in the Republican Party. Republicans have long been identified with business everywhere except for the Wall Street trading crowd. Well, putting the full faith and credit of the United States in jeopardy, and we make a fortune in the fact that we are the world's reserve currency. People all over the world hold dollars. So that's just profit to our country, basically. If you shut down the government, business has all sorts of problems that arise, trying to get approvals, trying to deal with regulatory issues. And every time the Republicans have shut down the government in the last 25 years, well, guess what? The business community has been very upset about it. But to yahoos, to the Marjorie Taylor Greens and Lauren Boeberts, who know nothing of economics, don't have any idea what they're talking about, this is an opportunity to beat up on big, bad, ugly Washington.
And the spending that they're talking about, these are all talking points, or is there? They talk about military spending. You know, I think we way overspend on the military. It's absurd. I mean, it's literally absurd how much we spend. And on these weapon systems, many of them don't work, and much of that money doesn't ever leave the Beltway, as we've discussed. So you can have a reasonable conversation about that. But I feel as that these are just talking points. These aren't. There isn't really it's almost as though this is a fundraising thing more than an actual policy discussion.
Yeah. This is not serious discussion by grown-ups who studied economics and fiscal policy and understand what they're doing. This is, I agree with you very much. It's a fundraising experience and game playing that's going on. But let's be clear what they want to do. The Kevin McCarthy Republicans and the Donald Trump Republicans, who are not exactly the same people, they want to kill Social Security. They want to kill Medicare. They believe that the only proper functions of the federal government are a military, which I agree with you is not only vastly more expensive than it needs to be, but a great deal of it is focused on refighting World War II instead of looking to the future where cyberspace is much more important. They want to eliminate many of the agencies that keep us safe, food and drug, for example. You know, if we all lived in one village and somebody makes unsafe sausage, well, it's real simple. We go tell the guy after somebody dies from eating his sausage, do it again, and we're going to get rid of you. But your food comes from many places all over the country, and we have to have systems to track when there's something wrong or people die. They want to get rid of that. They want to get rid of all sorts of spending that makes it possible to generate all of this wealth in America, because you have to have a foundation of commonwealth in order to create private wealth. You need roads and bridges and highways and educated people and a civil justice system and a criminal justice system. And you need vaccines and a whole lot of other things if you're going to build private wealth, which they claim to be in favor of, but they certainly seem to want to hobble private wealth creation.
So, as you look at this situation, remind us then, when does this entire situation need to be resolved? In other words, how close are we to the brink?
Well, later this week, Thursday or Friday, we will technically hit the debt ceiling from the government's reissuance of debt. There's a website you can go to, Debt to the Penny, run by the Treasury Treasury, and it'll tell you every day what the federal debt is. The government can then begin to do a variety of actions. It cannot spend money in certain areas. It can borrow money from one fund to another. Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, who's an extraordinarily great economist and who's married to one of the best economists in the world, a Nobel Prize winner, she says that we can probably get to May or June before we run into real serious trouble. So you're going to see the Republicans, especially in the House, try and insist on some cuts somewhere. And if you're my age and you get Social Security, you should be deeply disturbed. If you have government financed health care, Medicare, if you're my age, or Medicaid, if you're poor, you should be all over these people, because when the government makes promises and taxes you for your whole life for something, we shouldn't then say, well, we're going to snatch this away. And what are you going to cut? I mean, the last time around, they cut things like replacing mold-filled housing for military families, and they stopped spending that money. That what you want to do? I mean, they have not articulated, except in the broadest strokes, what they want to do and how they would achieve it, because this is all falderall.
Well, and so the falderall part of it, I get, as we've said. I mean, it's all talking points. There are no real policies that are being forwarded. But I feel as though, and somebody mentioned in the chat, that it's a game of chicken with one crew not really caring if there's a collision. Is that really the case, David? How do you handicap this? Are they really going to be okay shutting the government down again?
Oh, I think that at least the House Republicans will be fine with shutting the government down. It's very clear that Mitch McConnell, whatever you think of Mitch McConnell, he is a serious person. He is a brilliant strategist in politics. And on the other chamber, you have a leader, Kevin McCarthy, who literally nobody can find any indication that he has any ideology or philosophy except I'm entitled to be speaker. And you have all of these far out House members because of gerrymandering of districts, like Matt Gaetz and Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Biggs, who just today said we should round up and deport every person who is in this country without permission. They're crazy. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, Mark, except these folks are literally crazy, and they are pursuing, or at least telling the public that they're pursuing ideas that are never going to happen, but they could, ruin the faith and credit of the United States government. And that will, for the rest of history, as long as our country exists, we will suffer for these idiots doing that if they succeed.
We've had the downgrade before, I think, haven't we, David?
We did. Moody's downgraded the debt, but I mean, I don't think that amounted to anything. That was the debt rating service trying to make a point.
I see.
I believe, to the Republicans, though it wasn't reported that way. But we didn't actually fail to meet our obligations. And that's what matters. And that's why the 14th Amendment matters. These people who say, well, I'm a constitutional Republican, well, fine. The 14th Amendment says the debts of the United States shall not be questioned.
Does the House has to approve the debt limit, though? I mean, it is in the hands of these people who you talk about as crazy. I mean, I think it's a perfectly defensible position. But those are the people that we got to count on to raise this debt limit?
Well, all you have to do to get it passed is, remember, the Republicans only have a 4-vote majority. And if George Santos, who's looking more and more like a Russian agent, is removed, it would be only 3. So all that the Democrats need to do is get a handful of grown-up Republicans. And there's plenty of responsible, respectable, grown-up Republicans in the House. They're just not the ones in the forefront. All they have to do is get a handful of them to vote to raise the debt ceiling. And I think at the end of the day, come April, May, June, that's what you're going to see. The Democrats and a small number of grown-up, serious people on the Republican side in the House.
Tell me about Santos quickly. Is Santos serving a political purpose for the Democrats because he essentially has become this? He's become a political football that they can toss around, and they can get on TV talking about him.
Oh, I think it's terrible for the Republic, but clearly Santos is for the Democrats the Christmas gift that gives again twice a day. But new stuff keeps coming out about this guy. I've tweeted about, do we really know that he's George Santos? Do we really know that he's an American citizen? But these connections to Russians and the finances, I mean, it's pretty clear that he's committed serious felonies about money. And if you listen to him when he talks to friendly sources, one of the things that becomes quickly apparent is this is a guy who has no conscience whatsoever. He is just your classic sociopath, and he will contradict himself and say whatever at the moment he thinks is useful, and he just makes up the fantastic lies all the time. He's like a drunk in a bar who tells you, well, yeah, I played once for the Yankees for one inning in 1979.
Well, clearly, I mean, he's got 10-foot pole marks all over him,
Yeah.
Tom says Santos is a pariah and pariah is a ding word. So Santos is a ding word. All right, I'll ding pariah. So now let me just go to the document situation. I mean, this is a bizarre story. Look, I don't mean to in any way suggest that there is an equivalence between what's going on with Joe Biden and with what's happened with Donald Trump, where you had obvious obstruction, you had lawyers lying, you had Trump lying, you had documents being moved. You really had this act of, as I say, obstruction. There had to be subpoenas provided. Even after the subpoena, there was an issue. Oh, did we lose David? But
yeah, I think we did.
Oh, we lost him. That's okay. Anyway, I was just going to make the point that but you have Biden tripping over documents, on his way to the car. It's a bad look at minimum. And as I think I made as a point last week, or when the first documents were revealed, we kind of made a point like, oh, yikes. But then when these latest documents were revealed to be in the garage where he stores the Corvette,
I was like, uh-oh.
I was like, well, guys, let's get a hold of what's going on with these documents. Like, again, I don't mean the equivalence is not there between the two, between Trump and Biden. But that doesn't mean Biden still doesn't have to own this situation where he has these documents right next to the Corvette. So,
but don't you think though that that's the difference between Democrats and Republicans, where Democrats admit that they say, yeah, this doesn't look good. An investigation has to be going on, whether it's Trump or Biden. Time to pay,
we can't wait to eat our own on the left. We can't wait to eat our own. We can't wait for
circle around and they're like, oh, nothing to see here. Move along.
Yeah, Republicans circle the wagons. We circle the firing squad. But that said, David, while there isn't equivalence, it is at minimum a bad look for Joe Biden, and there's some explaining to be done. Oh, he's muted.
David, you're muted.
David, you're muted. You got to unmute. Thank you.
I suspect what's going to come out eventually here with the special prosecutor on Biden is that Biden and probably Obama and Clinton and the Bushes and Ronald Reagan took not the very highest level secret documents like human intelligence, would identify sources and methods and people, but all sorts of documents that are overclassified. That's been a scandal in Washington for, 50 or 80 years. There's been very loose handling of these, and they haven't kept logs. Here, we gave the president this document. Let's get it back, as we do with library books. You get a notice of the library. You didn't return this book. And that's a problem. And we should be upset about the casual nature of this. But in matters of national security documents, the whole ballgame is intent. We've prosecuted lots of people, but we only prosecute people who lie and deny and who act in bad faith. And nobody can accuse Joe Biden of that. They can certainly accuse him accurately of having a comms operation, a communications office that blundered beyond belief. They should have immediately done searches, found everything they could, put it all out at once, and they should have done it immediately after the election. I can justify they found something 6 days before the election. I don't have any problem with any president, including Donald Trump, putting it out on the 9th, the day after the election. But there's real sloppiness in handling even low-level security documents. And Congress, I'm sure, is going to pass a law that's going to be tougher about this. And by the way, that's going to cost you more money as taxpayers, because you're going to have people with high-level security clearance whose job is to make sure, okay, we handed it over. Where is it? We got to get it back.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, that system should have already been in place. I mean,
Oh,
I get
yeah.
that it's going to cost us money, but I mean, it's absurd that these guys can skate with this stuff. And I get it. Okay, that it's not literally Joe Biden. It was somebody in his, as you say, his comms office. Okay, great. But that shouldn't happen either.
Well, Mark, I want to be clear. I think it was Joe Biden who took these things in his valise and went home with them. The comms office problem, the White House press operation problem, is that they should have gotten all, as soon as they found one document, they should have said, oh, we need to do a complete sweep and find everything and put out once. They shouldn't have these 3 drips and drabs. That's just, death by 1,000 leaks and announcements. And it's amateur hour. I've been trying to get a document from the White House that's public record, and the responses I get from Jean-Pierre and her subordinates have nothing to do with the question I asked. They send me back these responses that are as if I asked a totally different question. They're not, frankly, a very good, very polished operation.
I am going to ding valise, which I feel is a great word, and I haven't heard it in so long. Wow, David K. Johnston. I love that. David, last thing before we say goodbye for you for today, this Pulitzer Prize winner and co-founder of DCReport.org, the world elites, I mean, the economic elites, they're meeting in Davos, Switzerland. What the hell is this thing?
Well, there's been a forum for, I guess, close to 40 years now, where very super wealthy people are invited to discuss the world's problems. And if you think that Bill Gates or even George Soros knows what we need to do to deal with poverty in the world, I have a bridge I'd like to sell you connecting Brooklyn to Manhattan. But it is an opportunity for these folks to talk about their common concerns behind closed doors and to put on a show that they really care about what's going on in the rest of the world. And of course, journalists just, are drawn to this like moths to a flame. Spend a lot of money to send reporters there. I mean, watch the reporters on CNBC, CNN, read the business page accounts in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal about these meetings. And I think fawning is a reasonable word to describe the coverage.
Yeah, and I'm losing track of the economic elites. There are the protests going on. There are a lot of climate protests related to this because a lot of these economic elites get their money from plundering the earth.
Yep. Yeah, well, energy, mining, bad practices, and of course, what I call economic pollution are key aspects of people who have greatly concentrated wealth. If you can set up a system where you take away people's job benefits like their pensions and their health care plans, or strip them down to nothing, what you're really doing is polluting the economy. You're shoving those costs that should be yours on your business off onto the taxpayers. You don't hear that at Davos. And people like me don't get invited to go to Davos because we're going to ask the questions they don't want to have asked.
That's a great point, that the media that's there is there, as you suggest, to sort of fawn over these super rich people. And I'm losing track of the super rich conferences. There's one in Davos. There's the Aspen Institute. They have 2 more, I think, in places I can't recall now.
There's one in Sun Valley for American media building.
Thank you. That's it. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. It's not wrong that these people control the world in many ways. I mean, it's wrong. It shouldn't be. It's that way wrong, but it's not incorrect.
When Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations, it was published in 1776, and it's still in print. He observed that he was referring to the ownership class, seldom do business owners get together, but to engage in a conspiracy to push down wages and raise prices. And he said, you can't prevent such meetings. And I agree with him. These people are free to meet. but neither should government do anything to facilitate this. Well, American taxpayers spent a small fortune sending American economic, Justice Department, military, and other officials to Davos to meet with these folks. And, you know, I think Adam Smith got it right. They're going to meet, but don't facilitate it. Don't help it.
Wow. Yeah. So well said. From Adam Smith. David, so great to visit with you. We look forward to Tuesdays. So glad that you're still such a part of our life. And dcreport.org is the website that David co-founded, and you can find his books everywhere. I suggest you grab any David K. Johnston book and you needle drop it. Just open it anywhere, and man, you will learn something. It is wild. We'll talk to you soon, my friend, next week. David K. Johnston, everybody. All right. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is the Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
Who's Mark Thompson?
I've got so much to do, and we've still got a half hour
Mark
to do
Thompson?
it. All right. Whatever happened to Shirley? Remember Shirley? She had the I'm really unhappy with everything I've heard today on your show.
I love that one.
What
Yeah.
happened to her? She was great.
Don't you have her still?
I love
Yes, I'm very unhappy with everything I've heard today on your show.
I love it. That's great. Smash the like button like a boss. It helps us in the algorithms of YouTube.
Smash it with your iron
Do it
rod.
with your iron rod or whatever you've got handy. Wherever, likes cost you nothing. You just hit if I watch a video, I hit the thumbs up. So thank you for doing that. If you are watching this offering right now, if you're watching in replay, all the more reason you can hit the thumbs up. If you want to support the show, you can do it apart from YouTube, and you might be more comfortable doing it apart from YouTube. Here's how you do that. You go to themarkthompsonshow.com. You see it right here. Want to support the show? Visit themarkthompsonshow.com and click contribute. And you'll see a Patreon link and you'll see a PayPal link. And you can go to either one, whatever you're more comfortable with. You can put in a credit card. If you're a PayPal member already, you just shove some money our way. We're crowdfunded. This show, we have Steve Moskowitz as our sponsor. He's our exclusive sponsor. But that's not enough to sustain the show. So the demands of the show, because no one works on this show for free. I won't permit it. Even Tony, who in the early days, Tony would come up as you were trying to get set up, and he knew that we were all out of work or whatever. The station had gone under, and he said, no, man, I don't want any money. I said, no. And I literally shoved money in his pocket. Remember that? Yeah.
Yes.
No one works. I will not permit anybody to work for free. I've had, as a voiceover guy, I always get that, hey, we're doing a presentation thing. Would you like to, can you do this for me? I'm doing something for my new show. Can you do it? And I always end up working for free. I kind of don't mind it. But once in a while, you'll run into somebody who's a producer and says, no, Mark, you're not working for free. I won't allow it. I got to give you something, So that's the way it is on this show. And that takes the help of the audience, the support of the audience. You support this show. So thank you, all of you who have contributed. We post your names at the end of the show. And those who would super sticker and super chats and the rest, we try to acknowledge you during the show. And even those who are on PayPal and Patreon, we will acknowledge you during the show as well. If it moves the meter enough, we definitely want to get you a shout out. I know that no one contributes for a shout out, but we still like to acknowledge you. So when we come back, I will have a choice for you. You can decide. I will leave a couple of stories on the side, and they're all juicy, but I will let you, the audience, decide where we're going.
I like a nice juicy story,
Yes. Oh, it's juicy. All right, smash the like
Smash
button.
it
And
with your iron rod.
Kim's new medieval clarion call to the news is next as we continue.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Who's Mark Thompson?
The Mark Thompson Show.
Oh, yeah.
On the Mark Thompson Show. Yeah, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Is this guy, this old surfer, skateboarder guy. He is having his parole decision overturned. His name is Mark Rogowski. Governor Gavin Newsom overturning a state board decision to give Rogowski parole. According to recent documents obtained by station KFMB, the governor's decision to reverse parole this time was due to a verbal disagreement Rogowski had with another inmate. The former 80s skating icon from San Diego County, professionally known as Gator, has been in prison since 1992 after pleading guilty to the rape and murder of a friend of his ex-girlfriend. Governor Gavin Newsom first reversed Rogowski's parole in 2020, saying that he really did need to gain a deeper understanding of the crime he committed. Rogowski will be eligible for parole again later this year. A San Francisco task force on reparations is recommending that the city make a one-time payment of $5 million to each eligible Black resident. The San Francisco African American Reparations Advisory Committee said the lump sum would compensate for decades of harm experienced as a result of both intentional decisions and unintended harms perpetuated by city policy. The proposed redress could cost San Francisco $50 billion. The city's total 2023 budget is $14 billion. So again, that's a one-time payment of $5 million to each eligible Black resident. And we'll see how this all pans out. Southwest Airlines is saying that 90% of the customers that were stranded during the holiday meltdown have now received refunds. The company says the remaining 10% can expect their money back in the next few days. The Dallas-based airline says it will spend more than $1 billion on system upgrades to avoid another such catastrophe. And Mark's been talking about the economic forum going on in Davos, Switzerland. Well, John Kerry is there. He says it's probably too late to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. Speaking at the World Economics Forum in Switzerland, the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate says he is convinced the world will eventually get to a low carbon or no carbon economy, but he says it may not happen in time to avoid all of the consequences. Kind of a threat being issued by former President Trump, who says it would be a bad move if Florida Governor Ron DeSantis tries to or decides to enter the 2024 presidential race.
Ron DeSanctimonious.
What does that mean? It would be a bad move. Okay.
No.
Speaking on a podcast, Trump says if it happens, he'll handle it the way I handle things.
Wow.
How do you
the way he handles things.
Don't talk to me that way.
Several polls have shown DeSantis beating Trump in a hypothetical matchup. Yeah, he'll handle it.
He's just saying, I'm going to handle this. He doesn't go into any detail.
If it happens, it would be a bad move, and I will handle it the way I handle things.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Yeah, there's that.
That's appropriate. Actress Sally Field, we will celebrate her. She is set to receive the SAG Life Achievement Award next month. Field will be the 58th recipient of the Guild's highest honor that has gone to the likes of Betty White, Robert De Niro, and Helen Mirren. Field
There's never been anything like this.
Well, actually, there's one every year, sir.
She's known for her roles in Smokey and the Bandit, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Forrest Gump, among many other SAG, of course.
I'm guessing she doesn't want Smokey and the Bandit mentioned.
Actors Guild.
Maybe she does.
Maybe. Hey, people liked it, you know?
There's so many people to thank for this award, recognizing my work in Smokey and the Bandit.
Hey, it's all part of her body of work.
The movie did really well, but The Flying Nun, this is good.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to Sally Field.
Yes.
Apple announcing new MacBooks with their most powerful chips yet. The company says its new 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro laptops will both be updated with the latest processors. Apple revealing an update for its Mac Mini computer as well. The new 14-inch MacBook Pro will sell for $2,000. The 16-inch model, $2,500. The devices will be available starting January 24th, but the whole pre-order situation, well, that starts today. Day. And lastly, in Santa Rosa, the first Black Peanuts character is now featured as a statue at a high school
I
in
thought
Santa
you said
Rosa.
Black penis character. I'm thinking, what is this?
That's what I said. That's
it's
what
just, I couldn't hear it.
What?
I couldn't hear it clearly. I'm sorry.
Peanuts.
Good. You can't, please don't read that line, though, too quickly for those of us who are harder of hearing.
Like when I used to do traffic, I'd have to be very careful saying the word milpitas.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
Sounds like, there's a crash in the penis. What? Yes. First Black Peanuts character now featured as a statue at a high school in Santa Rosa. A statue of Franklin debuting on the campus of Piner High School. Franklin.
Oh,
yeah.
That's nice.
The school purchased the statue from the Charles M. Schulz Museum, not far from campus. Piner officials said Franklin represents their student population, one that is made up of an overwhelmingly majority of minority students. So Franklin debuted as part of Schulz's classic comic strip, July 31st of 1968.
Oh,
I don't
that's
know.
nice, I think.
I don't think it matters what their student population is. Look at those kids walking by. They're totally going to vandalize that statue.
Oh, my God.
Ne'er-do-wells. It doesn't matter what high school it went to. Those kids were going to do something.
Wow. That's pretty...
Hopefully they respect that.
I literally thought you were going to say, well, it doesn't really matter what school that goes to or what character it is. The kids are going to love that it's part of the campus and it's a part of their daily scene. Yeah, you're saying that it will be vandalized?
They're a bunch of hooligans, all of them. I mean, not at that high school, all high schools. I'm just saying.
Right. You're not singling out any one high school.
No.
Yeah.
Or that student population. I'm just saying, no matter what high school it went to, that statue is not long for this world.
It's boys, right? Boys do it. Am I right, Kim?
Well, I don't know. I have a daughter and,
Oh, is that right? You think she could be prone toward vandalism?
No, I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
There is no defense for my conduct.
Okay. I think it's boys.
You think it's boys?
Julie wants a ding on ne'er-do-well.
Okay.
No, all right. I'll ding it reluctantly. Anyway, go ahead.
I feel like that was a charity ding. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve
feel it
Moskowitz.
because it was. Yeah.
For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, call Steve Moskowitz. You can see it at the bottom of your screen, 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens, and this is the greatest radio show in the history of the world, The Mark Thompson Show. It's in all the record books. The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I have a weed story. Thank you for reminding me. I have a weed story. So I have a weed story or an alcohol story. Which one would you like first? A weed or alcohol?
Let's start with the weed. I'll start with the weed and go to the booze.
All right. What do you think, Tony? Do you like weed or alcohol first?
Sure, let's do weed first.
All right.
Kim, how are you?
All right.
Thanks, Tony.
So
if I had time to prepare, I would have thrown this in the chat decided for a poll, but
oh yes,
too late.
Well, let me just say that in the chat they are saying
it's seen weed is getting
weed is, but there are a few alcohol. Huge in Japan, alcohol. Randy wants alcohol. Karen Q wants alcohol. But Lita wants weed. Sharon wants weed. That sounds weird. Wants weed. You know what I mean? The story first. Gail. All right. Weed before liquor. Never sicker, says JR. All right. Let me give you the weed story. I'll get to the alcohol story. And you'll be sorry you asked. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre star John Larroquette, whose show Night Court has been brought back. I think its premiere is tonight on NBC. I learned that from our chat, from our audience. I mean, I've seen the promos, but I didn't know when the premiere was going to happen. He was paid to narrate the 1974 slasher movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And
y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
He has never watched any of the film. He's not a horror movie fan. But he did reveal that his narration services didn't get him dollars and cents. He was paid in weed. That's right. That's the way they used to do it in Hollywood, everybody. John Larroquette, who made his film debut when he provided the opening narration for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, says that director Tobe Hooper offered the usual payment after the pair first met while he was a bartender in 1969. Not the unusual payment of paying him in weed. So they were bartenders together, and then, again, Larroquette is won a Tony Award, brilliant actor, as you know, but made his film debut as a narrator. He was paid in weed. Here's a question for you. How old is John Larroquette? How old? How old is John Larroquette? He was in Night Court. It was a hit show. Marky Post was in that show. Gorgeous Marky Post. She's passed away now. Harry Anderson, charming. He was a juggler. He was a magician. He was an actor. Harry Anderson, he's passed away. Larroquette, not only still alive and kicking, but his show, Night Court, a reboot of the original show, goes on tonight. And the story focusing on him. How old is he? In the chat, they're saying 73, 76, 78.
I would say he has to be in his 80s, doesn't he?
Was a long time ago.
Yeah. I'm going to say 86.
Wow, okay.
Kim, how are you?
And what do you think, Tony?
72.
Oh.
Thanks, Tony.
Probably more.
As the Tony Award-winning actor who made his film debut when he provided the opening narration for the gory flick Texas Chainsaw Massacre, whose show premieres tonight, the reboot of the original Night Court, who was paid in weed for his narration on Texas Chainsaw. He is 75 years old, everybody.
Okay.
That's right. Chris was right. A couple of correct
Chris
guesses,
was first.
I think. Chris was first. Nice job, Chris. Yeah. So, it was such a bro-down scene, by the way, when they did that first Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 74. He said he got a little bit of weed. He walked into the sound booth, recorded it, and it was done. He asked for an hour of my time to narrate something for this movie he just did. I said, fine. It was a favor, Larroquette said. He's since gone on to narrate and be paid in cash for the reboots of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and then the sequels to the reboots. He said, you do something for free in the 70s and get a little money in the 90s. It's certainly the one credit that's stuck strongly to my resume. He says he's never watched any of the Texas Chainsaw films. He says he just is not a big horror movie fan. Yeah. So that's your weed story. The booze story jumped out at me, and I'll tell you, it was this past weekend. You know, and whenever I'm reading stuff, I'm always looking for things I can push along to you here on the show. That might be of general interest, you know. And one thing that I have trouble doing is resisting a cocktail. It's not a problem drinker. Like I'm okay not drinking, but I also enjoy a cocktail.
Sure.
So the people who are really good, like these people who are graduates of AA and who've been through the program and everything, they know they're going to be surrounded by these temptations, and associated behaviors. That's oftentimes when we drink. You watch a football game, you have a beer. You You get together with work colleagues, everybody has a cocktail, whatever it might be. And so those people can walk into a bar often. I'm talking about AA people. And I say a bar, a meeting place, because bars are places where people collect to do more than just drink, right? They're enjoying each other's company. They go there to meet people they know, people they don't. And they can just push back on it. They don't have to have it. There's a real inner fortitude that these people have gotten through these programs, AA and others, right? I find when I sit down at a bar and boom, I got to have a drink. Now, again, I don't have the problem, but I always think, wow, I wish I didn't feel such a compulsion to have it. I wish I wasn't sort of held hostage to that compulsion. And Courtney would say to you, Mark, you're fine. I don't know why you. It's just, I don't like situations where I feel like I have no control. Right. Anyway, in that spirit, and the spirit of even just having one drink, I was reading this past weekend this huge piece, and I'll just read you a couple of highlights from it, and then I'll post it up to my Twitter feed or something. You can read more. You can Google it and find it. The headline that I didn't want to see: even a little alcohol can harm your health. And I have to say that you kind of know that, right? You kind of know when you're drinking. It's poison on some level, but it is so good. And
yeah, but then there's the stories that say a glass of red wine helps your health. So,
right. And so we'll get to that too. After decades of confusing and sometimes contradictory research, too much alcohol is bad for you, but a little bit is good. Yeah. Some types of alcohol better than others. The picture is becoming clearer. Even small amounts of alcohol can have health consequences. Research published reveals that between 2015 and 2019, excessive alcohol use resulted in roughly 140,000 deaths each year in the United States. About 40% of those deaths had acute causes like car crashes, poisonings, homicides, but the majority were caused by chronic conditions attributed to alcohol, like liver disease, cancer, and heart disease. Are you showing me a picture of Sally Field? She likes to have a cocktail once in a while.
Yeah, she does. She was talking to you about
nice job.
Yeah, about how she likes to have a cocktail as well.
Right. Well, and again, this article is not going to get me to change. I like to have a cocktail, and I guess you sort of see it as a slow-moving train that's coming toward you. One thing's going to get you or another thing's going to get you. I mean, it's a little like sugar. I mean, they know now about the link between sugar and cancer. And alcohol, just to play it out, is metabolized in the body as sugar also, so there's that too. But when experts talk about the dire health consequences linked to excessive alcohol use, and again, I was just making the sugar example because it's not like I just had cookies last night. It's not going to keep me from eating them. People often assume that it's directed at individuals who have an alcohol use disorder when experts talk about the dire health consequences of alcohol. But the health risks from drinking can come from moderate consumption as well, the study shows. Risks start to go up well below levels where people would think, oh, that person has an alcohol problem. So how do I know if I'm drinking too much? Excessive alcohol use technically means anything above the U.S. dietary guidelines recommended daily limits. That's more than 2 drinks a day for men and more than 1 drink a day for women. There's also emerging evidence that there are risks even within these levels, especially for certain types of cancer and some forms of cardiovascular disease. The recommended daily limits are not meant to be averaged over a week either. Damn.
So you can't do all your drinking on one day?
That's what I tend to do. I drink, and once I have one drink, I can't resist another drink, why is it harmful? Scientists think that the main way, this is the essence of it. I have to say, everything to this point in this article, I thought, yeah, I know that. I mean, I know, as I say, it's not good for you. The same way you know that a lot of things, as I say, that you eat or put in your body are not good for you. But here's the thing that was most troubling to me. Again, I don't know how much road any of us have out in front of us. We talk about some of these things, but as long as we're talking about health. Why is alcohol so harmful? Scientists think that the main way alcohol causes health problems is by damaging DNA.
Huh.
When you drink alcohol, your body metabolizes it into this acetaldehyde, I think. I don't know how you say it. Acetaldehyde.
Mm-hmm.
That's a chemical that is toxic to cells. Now, acetaldehyde both damages your DNA and prevents your body from repairing the damage that is done by the alcohol. Once your DNA is damaged, then a cell can grow out of control and create a cancer tumor. Right. So Happy New Year, everybody. That's the thing I wanted to say to you. Yeah.
Two things I wanted to highlight in the chat. John Watson says, life has been determined to be the major cause of death. And JR wanted to know, what's your drink of choice, Mark Thompson?
I like vodka, but I also liked tequila. I used to drink tequila neat, you know what I mean? Just straight. And I still like it. And I love rum straight also. On the rocks. Rum on the rocks. Well, so tequila
There's some really
neat,
good rums out there.
Oh, my God, there are.
Really.
And rum is like some, beautiful person you just met at the bar who just wraps their arms around you. And I'm telling you, before you know it, you are hammered.
So you like your brown liquor straight up. Like there's nothing, nothing
I like
getting in the way.
Rum on the rocks, tequila straight, neat, chilled. But although not always chilled. I like tequila. I like it with that kick. And then vodka chilled. Yeah, I just like vodka. So that martini, if you order at the Red Jack, they'll give it to you. I believe they'll give it to you straight with olives. Yeah, that's the way that's the pure martini at the Red Jack in San Francisco. But they have everything there, man. You can look at that. Look how many beers the Red Jack has on tap.
They're not messing around.
Yeah, and they're great supporters of the show, and we really need, we need to show them the love. So if you're in the neighborhood of the Red Jack in the city, check it out. Maybe if you're at Sketchfest, go over there for a cocktail. You don't have to have a drink. Have a Virgin Bloody or whatever.
And when you're doing that, don't think about, well, not your Virgin Bloody, but when you're having a cocktail, don't think about the fact that it's wrecking your DNA. No. Your strands are getting shorter. Your wrinkles are getting deeper. Don't think about any of that.
I read about all this crap, man. It is so brutal. But it doesn't really change my behavior, know. So, I don't know. I guess we all wish we could be on the treadmill all the time and, just hydrating like crazy from the Mark Thompson Show hydration system. But the reality is that we are human beings, and so we do what we can. But I give you this information because I think it is it's important to be aware of it. But I don't know how many of us actually change behavior based on it.
But you can go into your brown liquor drinking, eyes open, fully aware.
Right. Why? I don't want to keep it from you is the point. Yeah. I also had I just had a note, and I thought I'll give you this. And tomorrow I've got a great That's Rich. Also tomorrow, something else big tomorrow. Let me look.
John says his favorite cocktail is called the DNA Wrecker.
Yeah, baby. Order me up one. Oh, we have first of all, John Rothman may join us tomorrow. Number two, I have a new guest who's an interesting guy named Anthony Davis. Okay. And he's not the basketball player. He's this is a British fellow who's a journalist and also has done a lot of interesting stuff. So he's going to join us tomorrow too. So
I love a nice accent. Can't wait for
yes, that. Yes, he's quite. I believe he's a voiceover artist too. So I think he uses his voice and accent in commercials. In the wake of the Golden Globes last week, several celebrities say they have new offers from Hollywood producers.
Oh, yeah, would be good.
No.
Oh.
Found incredible things in their gift bag.
That'd be nice.
No.
Oh.
They've tested positive for COVID-19.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it happens. At least 4 stars, including Jamie Lee Curtis and Michelle Pfeiffer, revealed they contracted COVID-19 after they went to the Golden Globes. Yeah. In response to that, the Critics' Choice Awards, which was held this past Sunday, they didn't publicize this fact, but now we know. They required all attendees submit a negative COVID-19 test before entering the venue. You want your award? Show us your test results. So This is sort of a window into what our future holds, said Dr. John Brownstein, an epidemiologist and chief innovation officer at Boston's Children's Hospital. It's not surprising that you're going to have active transmission of viruses, one of the many respiratory viruses that are circulating right now. According to the data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, weekly COVID-19 cases now have topped 400,000 for the last 6 weeks. But when a celebrity gets it, isn't it a bigger deal? Let's be honest, everybody. It's well known that the infected individuals can expel droplets that move through an entire indoor space. So you can dress yourself up, put on your tux, look great in that beautiful gown, but you are a walking sponge for COVID-19. I think the idea of testing pre-gathering is still a very good idea, says the doctor. It makes sense that the various award shows will use that as a tool to help limit the amount of risk of transmission at that event. These are national treasures, people. Celebrities. We cannot have them sick. We can't. Step up our game is all I'm saying to producers of these award shows. Please, step up your game. All right, well,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I am an award winner myself, if I do say so. Thank you, everyone. I don't like to make a big deal out of it.
You know who I am?
Yeah,
I'm kind of a big deal.
A couple of Emmy Awards, not a big deal. All right, now let's recognize people who have supported this show. We need you. And I'd like to do it now. Tony, if you will do the honors. The Lady Beatrice.
Nice.
The Lady Beatrice. I just hope the Niners get the Super Bowl going this year.
Yeah.
It's time, people. That's right. I'm going to give you a big Dan Ashley shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Thank you for $4.99 and a super sticker. Appreciate that. Yeah. Some character actors don't get taken seriously because they're so good looking, says the Lady Beatrice. And $4.99. Yeah, we talked about character actors with Kevin Pollak. And you're right. That I think was the case with maybe even with Bryan Cranston to a degree. You know what I mean? I think that's a great, great point. But thank you from Walter for $4.99. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Walter. Love that. Lynn Drambuie is like fire, says Lynn. Yes, indeed it is.
Drink it warm. It tastes like Christmas. Sorry, that was an accent.
Tastes like Christmas.
Drambuie's a
baby.
weird alcohol.
Yeah.
Drink it warm.
Oh, my God.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. Jan Carpenter, $4.99. I love when Tony, who really is reluctant to participate, I always draw him in. But, man, you mentioned Drambuie. Tony's right on it. Oh, yeah.
Alcohol or video games, I'm in.
Drink it warm, buddy.
Thanks, Tony.
Jan Carpenter, $4.99. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jan.
so much. Andreas!
Yeah.
Andreas, you make me cry every day, buddy.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
Not gonna, I'm crying on the inside. Andreas, have a great day, everyone, Andreas says. Such a great supporter. $20 after the $10. Wow. Really, really cool. I'm going to give you a
Thank you.
Really cool. Well, tomorrow we may get a visit from John Rothman. I think we likely will. And I also think you're going to enjoy this British fellow that I'm going to drag through the show tomorrow around 11 o'clock. So that should be a lot of fun, too. Now, what's coming up on Nikki's show? Are you doing the show, Kim, tomorrow?
Yeah,
Today
I'm
for
doing
Nikki?
an abbreviated show. Nikki's daughter is going to be in the hospital for a couple more days. And so we'll talk to former KGO talk show host Maureen Langan. We have voice actor Jeff Machado on the segment called Why You Do What You Do, talking about why you love what has kind of inspired you to do what you do and why you love it. So we'll talk to Jeff, we'll talk to Maureen, and we'll get to a few stories. And Nikki may chime in as well from the hospital room and check in and give us an update. So
Smash the like button for Nikki.
With your iron
Andreas
rod.
again.
Big shout out.
For the Mark Thompson Show.
You got to pot up Shadow, Tony. Come on. What kind of board op are you?
Thanks, Tony.
Love you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And until tomorrow, bye-bye.